In this video, we are going to look at Unit 8, Lesson 5, which is about combining events. So by the end of this lesson, you're going to be able to use a Venn diagram to determine the probability of an event. On page 290 in your workbook, you'll see these two pictures and this Venn diagram. Come up with at least one thing that you notice and one thing that you wonder, and then come back to the video. Certainly could have noticed and wondered many different things. This is just a few. So maybe you noticed that the bats and birds don't have 6 legs. Maybe you noticed that both bats and birds have wings and eat insects. Maybe you noticed that bats sleep upside down, but birds don't. Maybe you wondered what this has to do with probability. Why is 6 legs underneath the Venn diagram? Are there any other qualities besides having wings and eating insects that bats and birds share? So using that Venn diagram, why don't you go ahead and answer or think about answers to these 4 questions and then come back to the video and we'll discuss. So how many traits belong to birds or bats? Okay, so either birds or bats. So we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 traits listed there. How many of the traits belong to birds and bats? So are in both of these circles. So we see wings and eats insects, so 2. How many belong to neither bats or birds? So don't belong to them. And that's going to be this one trait out here, 6 legs. And is it possible for your answer to question 2 to be bigger than question 1? So is it possible for the traits that they share to be more than the traits that either of them have? And that's not possible because the or contains anything in either of the circles. And then the and is what's in both of them. So it can't be more. There can't be more traits than they share than either of them has. Could be equal, but cannot be less. Or sorry, cannot be more. All right, in this next situation, let's think about ice cream. So we've got 3 people eating ice cream. One person has chocolate, one person has vanilla, and one person has both chocolate and vanilla. So thinking about this situation, how many people have vanilla ice cream? Okay, so 2 people. So this person is eating vanilla ice cream and this person has vanilla ice cream. So we've got 2 people who've got vanilla. How many people have chocolate ice cream? So this person has chocolate and this person has chocolate. So again, 2. How many people have both chocolate and vanilla? So that's only going to be the one person in the middle had both. How many people have chocolate or vanilla ice cream? Is it 2 or is it 3 that have either chocolate or vanilla? And so that's going to be this person has chocolate or vanilla. This person has chocolate or vanilla. In fact, they have both. And this person has chocolate or vanilla. So it's going to be 3. So 3 people have either chocolate or vanilla. And then how is this related to the bats and the birds question? Well, because these people are sharing something. So they could have chocolate only. They could have vanilla only. Or they could have both chocolate and vanilla. So this is just chocolate. Chocolate and vanilla is the overlap, and this would be just vanilla. So we're going to be looking at a pretty complex Venn diagram here on the next page in your book. So let's look at it first before we start trying to answer questions about it and make sure we understand what we're talking about here. So these are actually countries in the United Kingdom. All right, so we're going to look at a pretty complex Venn diagram on the next page in your workbook. So I want to make sure that we understand how to read this, what it's talking about before you go ahead and try and answer the 10 questions in your workbook. So what countries are in the United Kingdom? So when we look at the United Kingdom, we see that it covers this whole space here. So what countries are in the United Kingdom? And that's going to be Northern Ireland, England, Scotland, and Wales. Okay, so we've got, let's do Northern Ireland, England, Scotland, and Wales. What countries are in the United Kingdom and the Isle of Ireland? So which ones are in the overlap of these two countries? And that is going to be just Northern Ireland. What countries are in either of these two? Okay, what countries are in the Isle of Ireland or the United Kingdom? Okay, is going to be all of the countries that are in the United Kingdom in the orange circle. So Northern Ireland, England, Scotland, and Wales. And then also the Republic of Ireland. Okay, that's also in this green. What countries are in the British Isle but not in the United Kingdom? So let me get rid of this green, Isle of Ireland. So which ones are in the blue circle but not in the orange? And so that's going to be the Isle of Man and the Republic of Ireland. Those two are in the British Isles, but not in the UK. So Isle of Man and the Republic of Ireland. So on page 291 and 292, go ahead and answer those 10 questions about this Venn diagram and then come back to the video and we'll discuss them. All right, so number 1 says, based on the categories in the Venn diagram, describe Northern Ireland in a way that doesn't include any other countries. So let's find Northern Ireland. Okay, so I see Northern Ireland here. Okay, it's definitely in the Isle of Ireland. Okay, so there's Northern Ireland. It's definitely in there. But we don't want it to be in any other country. So we could say that it's in the Isle of Ireland and it's also in the United Kingdom. So that would be one way you could have described it. That Northern Ireland is in the Isle of Ireland and the United Kingdom. You also could have said that it's in the United Kingdom, but not in Great Britain. That would be another way you could have described Northern Ireland. Number 2, how would we describe the Republic of Ireland? So Republic of Ireland is here. That's definitely in the Isle of Ireland as well. So we could start by saying it's in the Isle of Ireland. And then the Republic of Ireland is not in the United Kingdom. So we could say a country that is in the Isle of Ireland, but not the United Kingdom. How many countries displayed are not part of the British Isles? Okay, so let's look at the British Isles. So here's the British Isles, covers all of those countries. How many are not part of that? So only these two down here. How many countries displayed are a part of the United Kingdom? So the United Kingdom is here. So how many countries are part of the United Kingdom? So we can count them up and see 4. How many countries displayed are part of the Isle of Ireland? So Isle of Ireland is here, and there are 2 countries in that one. How many places displayed are part of the UK and the Isle of Ireland? Okay, so let's get rid of this British Isles bubble. So how many are part of both the UK and the Isle of Ireland? That would just be this one, Northern Ireland. How many places displayed are part of the United Kingdom or the Isle of Ireland? So in either of these. So we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are in either of those. Number 8, if one of the crown dependencies is chosen at random. Okay, so let's find a crown dependency. Are these 3 countries? So if one of these 3 countries is chosen at random, what is the probability that it's also part of the British Isle? So here's the British Isle. So one of those 3 countries would satisfy that condition. Number 9, Northern Ireland, England, Scotland, and Wales are all part of the United Kingdom. So what's the probability if one of those is selected at random that it's also part of Great Britain? And so here's Great Britain. So out of those 4, how many are also part of Great Britain? And so you can see 3 of them out of the 4 satisfy that condition. Number 10, given the Republic of Ireland, Northern Ireland, England, Scotland, and Wales are all part of the British Isles, what is the probability that one of them selected at random is going to also be part of the Isle of Ireland? So out of those 5, how many are also in this blue circle? So 2 out of the 5. All right, so based on that activity, let's go ahead and answer these 4 questions. So true or false, all the countries on the diagram are either part of the crown dependencies or they're part of the British Isles. So there's the crown dependency. And then the British Isles is here. Does that cover all of the countries in this diagram? And it does. So this is true. How many countries are part of the United Kingdom or the crown dependencies? So the United Kingdom is here. So how many countries are in either of these 2 bubbles? So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 are in either of those. How many are in both of them? So how many are in the United Kingdom and the crown dependencies at the same time? And that's 0 because there's no overlap. What if a country is chosen at random? What would the probability be that it's part of the Isle of Ireland? So if we're just choosing a country at random from this diagram, what's the probability that it's part of the Isle of Ireland? So there are 2 countries out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then you could reduce that to 1/4. All right, then in activity 5.4, you're going to roll a number cube 20 times. If you're doing this at home, I've rolled it for you so that you can have the data. So here are the rolls for the first cube and the second cube, and you can record this on page 294 in your table. And then you're going to end up using that data. So for number 2, you're just going to answer all of these questions just based on what's possible, not what you just did in that activity, but what's possible. They've answered A for you. Okay, so the first cube is a 6. What are the possibilities that you could roll? Well, you could do a 6 and a 1, a 6 and a 2, a 6 and a 3, a 6 and a 4, a 6 and a 5, a 6 and a 6. So go ahead and answer all of those questions in 2. Then in 3, you're going to use your data. So you're going to look at your data and answer how many times it happened in your table. Then in number 4, you're going to go back to this one and you're going to say what the chance actually was out of, all the sample space possible. You're going to re-answer the questions in number 4 on what the actual probability was. So number 3, you're going to use your data. Number 4 is going to be the actual probability for the event. So once you've tried that, come back to the video and then we'll discuss it. All right, so in number 2, you'd have a lot of different sample spaces to be writing out. So this is some of it. So cubes, 4 or 6, could have had a 4 first, 6 second, 6 first, 4 second. Doubles with a 6 first. Doubles or the first cube is a 6. Okay, so all of the doubles I listed out, and then 6 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm not going to write 6, 6 again. The first cube is not a 6. Okay, so you'd have 1 with each of 1 through 6. So 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, 1, 5, 1, 6. And then I just kind of shorthanded this. 2 with each of them, 3 with each of them, 4 with each of them, 5 with each of them. Would not include 6. First, cubes are doubles and the first is not a 6. So just the doubles 1 through 5. And then cubes are not doubles. So we would not be putting in 1, 1. I listed the others. We would not be putting in 2, 2. I listed the others. And then you would keep going. So 3, 1, 3, 2, not 3, 3, all the way through 6. Then in number 3, we're using your data from the table. Okay, so you're adding up and counting these different options in here. So what percentage of rows, remember we've done 20 rows, so we're going to add them up and divide by 20. So what percentage of rows have a 6 on the first cube? So look through, find a 6 on the first cube, this one and this one. So we had 2 out of 20, which is 10%. What percentage of rows have a 4 and a 6? Okay, so now we're looking for a 4 with a 6. And so we had this one. And so we had 1 out of 20 rows had a 4 and a 6. So that was a 5% chance. What percentage of rows are doubles? So we see a double here, 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 and here. So we had 4 rows out of 20, which is 20%. What percentage of the rows are doubles and have a 6 on the first cube? So let's go look at our 6 on the first cube. Neither of those are doubles. So 0 of ours started with a 6. So that's 0% of the time. What percentage of the rows are doubles or have a 6 on the first cube? Okay, so doubles or a 6. So we had 4 that were doubles and 2 6s on the first cube. Okay, so we had 6 out of 20 rows, which is 30% of the time. What percentage of rows do not have a 6 on the first cube? Well, if 2 of ours had a 6 on the first cube, that means 18 of them do not have a 6 on the first cube. So that's 90% of the time. What percentage of the rows are doubles and don't have a 6 on the first cube? So doubles and aren't a 6. Well, all of our doubles didn't start with a 6, so we don't have to cross any out. So that's 4 out of 20 times, which was a 20% chance. And then what percentage of the rows are not doubles? Well, 4 of ours were doubles, so 16 of the rows are not doubles, which is 80% of the time. All right, then we're going to go back and answer those questions of what is the actual probability for the event. So what is the actual percent of rows that have a 6? So what a 6 on the first cube. So here's all of the chances of a 6 on the first cube. So that's 6 out of 36. And 6 out of 36 as a percent is about 17% of the time. What percent have a 4 and a 6? Okay, so a 4 and a 6, it could have been a 4 on the first, 6 on the second. Okay, or it could have been a 6 on the first, 4 on the second. So that's 2 out of 36. And 2 divided by 36 is about a 6% chance. What percentage of the rolls are doubles? So we see doubles here, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6. So that's 6 out of 36, which is 17%. What percent are doubles and have a 6 on the first cube? So doubles with a 6 is just this one. Okay, so that's 1 out of 36. And that's a 3% chance. What percent are doubles or a 6 on the first cube? Okay, so doubles or a 6. So now that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 out of our 36 options in our sample space. And 11 out of 36 is about a 31% chance. What percent of the rolls do not have a 6 on the first cube? Okay, do not have a 6. Well, 6 of them do have a 6, so 30 of them do not. So 30 out of 36, and that's going to be 83%. What percentage of the rolls are doubles and do not have a 6? Okay, so doubles that don't have a 6. So here's all our doubles, and we want them to not have a 6 on the first. So that's 4 out of 36, or sorry, 5 out of 36. So 5 out of 36 is a 14% chance. And then what percentage of rolls are not doubles? Well, there were 6 doubles, so there's going to be 30 that are not doubles. And that's an 83% chance. So why is the actual probability different than what happened with your actual rolling? And that's because we only rolled 20 times. So as we roll more and more, the percentages are going to get closer and closer to the actual probability. But the actual probability is just going to be an estimate of how many times it will happen. All right, so let's go ahead and wrap up this lesson. How do Venn diagrams help us to understand probability? So Venn diagrams help us show relationships within the data. So it helps us to see if they share characteristics. So if they're in the middle of these two, if they're just for this one but not the other, okay, if they're just this one, not the other, or if they're outside of that and not shared in either. And then what's an example of a probability question that you could ask using and or? So maybe something like, how many people in your class play a sport and are in choir? So they could be in either of those. They could be in both of those. They wouldn't have to be in either. Okay, they could be in neither. So how do we use the terms and, or, and not for probability related to Venn diagrams? So when the two events are overlapping, that's going to be an and. The region that that is outside of the Venn diagram, so this is not in any of it. Okay, we could also have not in the blue would be the red, or not in the red would be the blue. So you can, not would not be contained within that region. And then all of the information in either the red or the blue is the or. So in any of those bubbles. So hopefully you can now use Venn diagrams to represent sample spaces and to find probabilities. You can work on the lesson 5 practice problems to practice your knowledge from this video. If you're struggling with any of those, remember that there's a video in the practice problem playlist that you can hear me explain any of those if you need more help. And then be sure to try this cool down. And if you're struggling on it, make sure that you reach out to your teacher.